Around them, people of all ages out on a warm evening at the popular outdoor shopping center. After ordering fudge brownies, Muhammad and Khalid Muhammad got up and opened fire. As is often the case here, after a terror attack, alongside the mourning for victims, life goes on and very fast. But the questions stick. How did they get into central Tel Aviv with firearms undetected? Just how much backing did Hamas provide? What will it mean for the current attempts to restart the peace process? And behind all the condemnations and statements, where do we go from here? We'll hear tonight from eyewitnesses, paramedics, our correspondents in the field, and Israeli and Palestinian officials. First with me here in the studio is Professor Yossi, Yona, a member of Israeli parliament in the Zionist Union Party and a friend of one of the victims of this attack, 58-year-old Michael Peyga, and Miri Eisen, former head of the Israeli military's Combat Intelligence Corps and a former international advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister. Good evening to both of you. Thanks very much for being here. First, Professor Yona, I'd like to just get your reaction to the attack and tell us about Michael Peyga.
Well, of course, it is a despicable, outrageous, heinous act of terror, and we all condemn it. And, of course, all of us united in the demand that the most harshest measures to be used in order to smite such acts and forestall them. Now, of course, we know that security forces have done, or they are doing their best, and it is never possible to stop, to forestall all attacks, no matter how effective we are in using such measures. And of course, I'm using this opportunity to convey my condolences to the families, of the victims and the families of the injured themselves. And now, as to Michael Peyga, he was a friend of mine, serving in the same faculty. Of social science and humanities. We know each other for quite maybe 2 decades. And in the last 2 years, before I entered the political arena, we used to meet every Wednesday, having together lunch, and enjoying very much his company. And the guy is a wonderful guy. He was a wonderful guy, modest, funny, ironic, and loved by his students, and never looked upon them condescendingly as it is often by university professors. And lovely man, it is a real loss, of course, first and foremost for his family, but definitely to his colleagues, to the university, and to us, his friends.
So as Professor Yossi, Yona, when we hear, I'm just interested in your reaction, this sort of ethical dilemma that's raised. I'm not sure if it really is one, depending on your perspective, of treating the attacker and the victims. We see this pretty frequently after attacks in Israel.
Yeah, I think it tests to our society. It's honorable that we act like this. Of course, these two terrorists should be brought, would go through an investigation or brought to court eventually, and will be sentenced as they deserve, and we all hope that they will rot in jail. But all this process of being hospitalized and being investigated and brought to court, of course, it is separated, totally separate from as we were told, and I think rightly so, that we are abiding by international code of ethics. We treat them humanly. But that doesn't reflect upon the way that we're going to treat them the moment that they are becoming, recover and become healthy. Then they ought to be punished as the law decree.
Right, of course. This is Professor Yossi, Yona. As you see these protests, what came as a beginning just to show solidarity, and now this?
I'm watching and observing what actually is unfolding there, and right. I can separate sort of schematically to three groups of people. The first, admirable, going there and showing solidarity and defiance, stating, well, terror would not smite us,
our
would
lives
not destroy
will go
us.
on,
Exactly, and this is, of course, admirable. You see another phenomenon which is very understandable, popular outrage. People just want to vent the frustration vis-a-vis such an attack, and it is understandable. People feel, the security is not being safeguarded and so forth and so on, and it is understandable. The third phenomenon that we see here, there's some kind of right-wing extremists who want to capitalize on what actually is going on and using this event cynically in order to how to put it, instigate or to have their own version of incitement. That is well, of course, not admirable and regrettable that we see such things.
Do you think this current government, which has just undergone some pretty significant changes, including with a hardline defense minister, Avigdor Lieberman, does this government indirectly or directly support that kind of reaction that we see in these protests? Do you see any link there?
Well, I'm short of this kind of assessment. I wouldn't, like dare to hasten and say something like that. But as to the government, and I think I agree with what Mary was saying before, I have full trust in our security forces, and they're doing a wonderful job. And of course, no criticism should be leveled against them. I mean, there's no terror-proof defense. Once in a while, some kind of cell would be able to infiltrate the borders and do these horrible things. All in all, the security forces are doing, I would say, I mean, I would like to see wonderful work, but the moment that something like this happens, so you have some kind of reservation. Now, as to the government, well, look, Lieberman now is the Minister of Defense, right? Mr. Terror, he knows how to deal with them. But of course, you might say, well, look, he's doing his job. He doesn't have or haven't yet the opportunity to use his ingenious methods of how to smite and to destroy terror. But of course, we would not hear from him now all these statements that the government should do this and that. That would be very...
It'll be interesting to see going forward how Lieberman actually
exactly.
His first major
I think that, yeah, we're anticipating was, how to say it...
there were a lot of questions before he started, but now he gets a real test where the public is going to see.
Exactly, and I think that would be for him a sort of a moment of, how to put it, disillusionment of the ability to use utmost means in order to...
Let's pause from the politics for a moment.
Miri is not agreeing with me, I see.
I'll let you react in just a moment, but I want Professor Yona, member of Israeli Parliament. Thanks very much for being with us. Miri.